obviously. My name's Ken Cregan. I've learned a lot from your talk. Thank you very much. I always could not quite understand why it wasn't explored, why September the 11th happened, and obviously the Americans and the Australians wanted to keep it a secret and wanted it not to be discussed. And I remember feeling particularly bad when we were invading Iraq, and a whole lot of people protested against that. It didn't mean anything to the governments in power, I think, whether they were Labor or Liberal. And I think a lot of us here may feel so frustrated this moral decline has occurred, and makes someone like me wonder what can one do about it when the whole thrust of our democracy and politics seems to be against it.
Well, yeah, thanks, Ken. That's an incredibly big question, and to my mind, it just points to the need for an alternative action program and electoral platform and some sort of party to run with it. One of the things that's happened, it's not part of the talk, but that since the rise of neoliberalism in the 1970s, I mean, that's not only had an appalling effect on social inequality and social exclusion and so on, but it's also gutted our democracy. There's a very good theory and discussion of this by a British sociologist called Colin Crouch, who says essentially there was real red-blooded democracy in Western countries from the 1940s to the 1970s, and that's when the welfare states were built. And after, in the 1970s, when the Reagan-Thatcher period, which was pushing neoliberalism with great brutality, all the formerly progressive parties, major electoral political parties in the West, simply capitulated to it. So with government and opposition both singing from the same song sheet, there was no room, at least in the electoral centre stage, for any kind of alternative to rise up, because whatever the pseudo-alternative was, it had to be neoliberal. It could be left neoliberalism or right neoliberalism, but it had to be neoliberalism, and that has meant that substantive moral and ethical issues have simply disappeared from electoral contestation, or the main event of electoral contestation in Australia and just about all the rest of the countries. And that's what's made it so difficult, I think, for voices driven by ethics and just by sheer common sense to make themselves heard over and above this seeming consensus around neoliberalism and the American way.
Oh, thank you, Winton, for that enthralling history of the world in the last, 42 hours?
70 years, yeah.
I'll start with trivia and then ask a question. I'd just point out that as a matter of the change, my daughter-in-law's parents were married in the British High Commission in Kabul in 1961. You don't have to.
I was there, I remember it. Yeah.
The other thing that occurred to me in your message was the fact that the laws that were put in place after the Second World War, particularly concerning genocide, are sort of allegedly still in place. One of the non-signatories to the Armenian, I understand, is the US. Is that correct?
So,
One of the non-signatories to the genocide of the Armenians is the US. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure. Let me just try and clarify that situation. The genocide, the Armenian genocide, started in 1915. There was a protest and a threat of retaliation from a joint statement by France, Britain and Russia. And the Americans refused to sign it because they were doing great trade with Turkey and didn't want to complicate the relationship. Now, in our own time, of course, there's been a number of countries and a number of political communities who have formally recognised the Armenian genocide, including the state of New South Wales and the state of South Australia, but also France and various other nation states. And America has constantly refused to do that, as indeed has the Australian federal government refused to do it because we don't want to upset the Turks. The reason why this situation has occurred is because the Turks have made it a central part of their state ideology that the genocide did not occur. So when you say the Americans never signed up to it, I mean, they certainly never acknowledged that it was a genocide. And have been repeatedly asked for it. I mean, there's been any number of bills introduced in Congress to recognise the Armenian genocide, and it's always been either outvoted or not approved by the President. And all because of ferocious lobbying and threats from the Turks who really mean business. I mean, when the French government acknowledged the Armenian genocide about 7 years ago, the Turkish president gave away his ceremonial Renault car and bought a Cadillac instead. So they're taking things very seriously. So it's very, very serious business for the Turks to continue to deny the bleeding obvious, if I might say. Yeah. And the Australian government and the US government go along with it on that.
Thank you.
Someone else? Yes? Okay. Good.
Thanks. I'm so curious of the internal politics between the establishment of the CIA as a personal fiefdom for the president and what it became over the decades. I don't understand. It was used in the Second World War as a particular thing, then renamed, and it was attached to the president. I don't know in what manner, how many billions of people he controlled. I just don't understand how this organisation can grow then to become almost a paramilitary equivalent to the general defence of the United States. I mean, it's just bizarre. Didn't anyone object? Didn't anyone raise questions? Was it allowed to grow so secretly? What happened? You know, it just seems very strange to go from 1949, you know, through to what it became.
Well, just to make clear that the CIA itself was created in 1947 to replace the Office of Special of Security, the Office of Strategic Services. Thank you. Now that was an arm of the Pentagon. So I mean, the Pentagon, the building was built in 1941. But it was part of the Department of War, subsequently called Department of Defence. And the OSS was closed down and the CIA was set up afterwards. It wasn't simply a name change, it was a completely new organisation, and it was answerable only to the President. But it wasn't part of the normal Washington bureaucracy. And so, you know, the President, and because it was answerable to the President, and it always flew under the radar, it could do whatever it liked, or whatever, and in particular whatever the President liked. So if he found, you know, the government of Iran in 1953 to be annoying, particularly because it was planning to nationalise the oil fields which were owned by American companies, then the obvious thing was to, was to indulge in dirty tricks. That's the usual phrase for.
Nobody questioned presidential judgment.
Well, a lot of the time they didn't know what it was doing. I mean, this is the thing, the CIA is not subject to congressional oversight. It's not subject to anyone's oversight apart from the President's. And the President just asked for a one-line budget for it. So you take a figure out of the air like $15 billion this year for the CIA to go and do these things we all know it's doing, but we don't know, in the sense that we can always deny knowing it. And it's very useful, you know, to get rid of people like Salvador Allende and so on in Chile, without having to launch a full-scale invasion or do something that is quite obviously illegal in terms of international law.
Yeah, so much has been written about it by now. That's why I asked about that report coming out in 2012. You know, sorry, it just seems strange that this creature that was given to the President in 1947, completely new thing, could now determine world history and the way whole countries or continents operate. I mean, the war in Afghanistan, you know, Al-Qaeda and, you know, 9/11, it's just unbelievable. It exercise such power.
It's interesting. I mean, the sleight of hand there is extraordinary. One of the most interesting things I discovered when I was doing this research was to actually go into the CIA's official website, which was largely taken up with the problem of recruiting enough Harvard graduates to work for it. But then I came across a section which was called Mission and Objectives, and under a heading called Integrity, it said, I'm actually quoted it in a footnote to the article will be coming out next month, where it says, everything the CIA does is strictly legal and honourable, and we earn the nation's trust through complete transparency. Now, I mean, I read that about 5 times, and I thought, what sort of mind would write that sentence? I mean, is it someone who is utterly and totally deluded? Or is it just someone who is shamelessly mendacious? And I must say, you know, I mean, I think it was probably someone who was totally deluded. And some of us were talking in the interval after the talk about the Homeland series, the HBO Homeland, which is fascinating because it tells the stories, you know, all the dirty deeds, the assassinations, sending drone attacks to, you know, and to hell with the collateral damage. but by people, like the core heroes of that story are patriots. You know, they're doing the right thing. and so there's obviously a great deal of brainwashing that goes on in whatever the CIA training program is.
My name is Pauline Chipman, and I just like, on the same tack, Winton, wasn't there some restriction or constriction in the Constitution to prevent the President setting up such a body to serve his own? Did it come under presidential powers in the Constitution, or was it considered?
Absolutely not. I mean, one of the provisions in the US Constitution says that all public expenditure will be publicly accounted for, that the citizenry should have access to all the details of public expenditure, which means, you know, everything that's in the budget. So this whole thing about withholding information about the CIA budget and what it's spent on is completely unconstitutional. In fact, the only reason we know that the budget is $15 billion is because of Edward Snowden. Leaked it. And the Washington Post publicised it. That's the only reason we know this.
Bring on the leaks.
Absolutely.
Next question.
Hi, Winton. I'm Warwick Chipper. When you were talking about those terrible genocides in various places that have occurred over the years, and talking about America's absolute reluctance to get involved in any of those things, I was just thinking to myself at the same time, and what about the United Nations when these terrible things were going on? That's the body that's supposed to represent basically all nations of the world, and yet they did nothing whatsoever. Do you ever envisage a time when they will become something more than ineffectual?
Well, look, the United Nations doesn't have an army. The USA has 1.3 million people in its armed forces. So the only way the UN can mount any sort of action is if member countries volunteer military units to it. The other organisation could have done something, and in fact did do something in the case of former Yugoslavia, was NATO. So the bombing of Belgrade and then the bombing of Serbian military units in Kosovo was undertaken by NATO. Lots of countries, including us, contribute peacekeeping military units, usually incredibly small, and their terms of engagement are extremely limited. Now, one of the most appalling cases of this is Rwanda. Rwanda is the most intense genocide probably of the modern era. You get 800,000 slaughtered in 80 days. While the world looked on, everybody knew what was happening. And there was a particularly tragic character. He was a Canadian army major or a general. A general was it? But he had a very small detachment. He was completely overwhelmed by the Hutu forces that were carrying out the genocide, and he was pleading again and again for assistance. So he just couldn't leave the compound without all his troops being slaughtered. And you know, he's a really tragic figure. When he talked about this later, he was a broken man. But one of the incidents that occurred, that intense genocide was actually incited and coordinated by a radio station called Media Colline, a Thousand Hills, and the Canadian general specifically asked the Americans to jam the radio station. Now, the Americans have 666 overseas bases, over 1,000 military so-called assets, an immense air force, etc. When they were asked to jam the radio station, their answer was no, they would not do that, as it would involve an unwarranted diversion of military assets in a cause that had nothing to do with America's vital interests. And when you read Samantha Power's book, this is the excuse again and again and again. This has nothing to do with America's vital interests.
Okay, next question.
Winton, thank you. But look, so where does Australia stand now, do you think, given that we're still, nominally anyway, a slave to the US alliance? And what do you see as some of the potential threats or problems that could emerge on the horizon that will affect Australia in the near, not too distant future?
Well, the first point to make is that any threats to us are probably created by the American alliance. A number of, it's an old adage in America among progressives that the world will stop threatening America when America stops threatening the world. And we are part of the American alliance has been threatened by all these conflicts that have been stoked by American incursions and things like the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and so on, and the shambolic strategic initiatives in Libya and Syria in the most recent years. So what would happen to us if we stopped being so servile? Well, I guess we can see what would happen by looking at what's happened to Canada and New Zealand. They're all kind of arm's length, both of them are arm's length allies of the United States, but they do not automatically join in all these adventures that cause all the blowback. I mean, the Canadians didn't join in or the New Zealanders didn't join in the Iraqi invasion and a whole lot of other initiatives of the US, and yet they're still part of the so-called Five Eyes agreement, whereby the intelligence agencies of 5 English-speaking countries share all their secrets, or pretend to anyway. So why don't we just take up a position like New Zealand's or like Canada's? Why do we always have to be the bunny in the headlines? I can't see any particular, I can see only positives of doing that. But whether we should remove ourselves entirely from the American alliance will be an interesting question to pursue.
Okay, Winton, I've got a question. It's a bit picking up on what you just said, because obviously Donald Trump is a challenge to everybody's sense about what's the right way to behave in the world, and Australia is in this alliance with the United States, which now means working with President Trump. So, have you got any insight at all into how the current Australian government is really coping with the current reality?
Look, I want to enter a defence of Donald Trump. I mean, he isn't nearly as bad as George Bush. George Bush, broke all the rules, started 2 wars, if anyone was totally out of control and has played an incredibly destructive role in world affairs, it was George Bush and the neo-conservative menagerie that he surrounded himself with. I say that a little bit facetious, about defending Donald Trump, because the other point I'd like to make is we must never normalise Trump. I think this is a vital point, that we must never get to what we were saying, he's a president like any other. But someone was talking about this in the interval. I think I'm a bit of an adherent to the view that there is a deep state emerging in the political elite in Washington that is actually going to hold Trump down. That's going to stymie any of his wilder and more stupid kind of initiatives that are just going to be obstructionist. And I think there's a strong possibility that when the Trump administration is over, the historians will declare him to be one of the weakest presidents the US has ever seen, and because he's facing so much obstruction and resistance all over the place. So that's so as far as I can see, the Australian government is playing along with those who I would imagine are part of the deep state that are keeping Trump in some sort of in some sort of innocuous position. That's giving them credit for a lot of intelligence. I'm not sure that they deserve it anyway. Let's be optimistic.
Okay, anyone else like a question or comment at this point? Okay, I think, yes, okay. One more go. That's okay.
Sorry, but I did want to ask earlier on about the blowback. When it was the CIA who had worked out to carry out certain actions, and then they became aware of a blowback. What was the first, or what signalled them?
The term was coined in 1953 in the immediate aftermath of the CIA's coup in Iran, the coup that brought the Shah to power. And there are a lot of repercussions of that. The CIA always leaves its fingerprints over everything. Or should I say it's DNA material these days. And so, there are protests and small acts of terrorism. Someone throws a bomb at a US destroyer or something. And the CIA is aware of this, and this is how they coined the term blowback. And it's the name, and it's now the title of Charles Johnson's main book on the subject of blowback and empire militarism in the American tradition.
Okay. Going back to the OSS, I remember a book called A Man Called Intrepid. It's the inside story of OSS. It's the biography of the guy who led it. So it's very interesting. It's so different a story to the CIA story. It's a remarkable thing about what was the United States really doing in World War II, and then what did they decide to do after World War II. Yeah. So, okay, let's thank Winton very, very much for a really